he just stays and he eventually passes McDaniels and becomes that next coach.
I mean, he'll go with his dad.
Yeah. Look, I think it'll be kind of cool to see when the day that Belichick leaves, and we're only 2 to 3 years away from seeing it, honestly. I think it's inevitable at this point, given the passage of time. It'll be nice to see how McDaniels does. I know he's coached before with Denver, and that never really worked out well. But at the same time, I'd be more interested to see Belichick coaching another team than I would.
Well, you would. Obviously, you're driving that point home.
Yeah, I mean, that's my rhetorical argument.
I mean, I guess if we're looking for speculation 101, we'll get it from Mr. Baseball Man here. But I don't know. I'm just kidding with you, by the way. But I don't know. I don't see Belichick ever leaving the Patriots. I just don't. Yeah. And why not? I mean, think about it. Here, you Mr. Numbers Man here, okay. When Don Shula left the Colts, he finished his second stop with Miami, got the record. Belichick leaves the Browns, goes to New England, gets the record. You see that drill duplicating. There's a little bit of a pattern here. You know what I mean?
He's only 47 wins away, too.
Well, that's why he's staying around those other 3 years. I mentioned that to Anthony, and I'll say it again to you. And
I think it's going to take him 4 years to get there, because if he averages 14 wins a season, and that's not always precedented, that's unprecedented. The Patriots, the year they won, I believe it was 20. I think it was the year that they lost actually to Philadelphia in 2018, or after the 2017 season, they went 14-2. Belichick's had one losing season his entire career in New England. You think he can put up 4 plus 12 win seasons? If he'd have to win 12 games a year on average moving forward to eclipse the record that Shula set, and that counts playoff games. Now, I don't know if he does that. Again, I just don't know if he wants to coach that long. I wouldn't be surprised if he coaches till he's 70, 71. But at the same time, when Brady leaves, it's going to be the impetuous for Belichick to leave as well.
Well, I mean, that's pretty much the nature of it, so I don't know. We're trying to get Michael Keller on. Obviously, he lives in a remote area, but if not, we'll bring him on another time. But without a doubt, hopefully we get a lot of those things worked out. Mike's a good guy, and we'll definitely, hopefully, get something in. So he's a guy that I really have a tremendous amount of respect for. And, you know, Katie and I had a chance to visit him, and there's no doubt in my mind, you know, that we could probably try to get him on. He's certainly one of my favorite guests, for sure. And, you know, we'll see what we can do. We're trying to make the connection. He's out in an area called, Cadillac, Michigan, I think.
Remote, small town, Michigan.
Yeah, remote, small town.
Central Michigan, I think you prefaced at the outset of the program when we were talking. Yeah, and we've discussed that before, but I'm sure we'll get him on at some point. He'll talk some, he wanted to talk Michigan, Notre Dame tonight.
All right, well, that's what the hope is.
And
so.
we can springboard that if we're talking a little Michigan.
All right, well, now, better late than never, as they say. We got Michael Keller on the line. Mike, did you get lost out in Cadillac, buddy?
No, I had phone problems. Sorry, guys. I couldn't get my phone to work right.
That's okay. Well, we'll just get to the what we have, and we'll do the best we can to cover what we have. First of all, Michigan, Notre Dame. That's okay. Michigan, Notre Dame, you got to be pretty happy with that, right?
Well, I think it was a great example of the preparation that Jim Harbaugh has had with these guys, and they took a bull by the horns in a really a good Notre Dame team and dominated them from the beginning till the end. And I tell you what, as a former Wolverine, I was very proud of what they did. And I'm going to say one thing real quickly, and that is that from the second half of the Penn State game throughout the Notre Dame game, the University of Michigan Wolverines have been a dominant team, and they have been something that we Wolverines really want to see continue.
Okay. Well, obviously, there was a lot of talk about Jim Harbaugh being let go. I think we both agreed that Jim Harbaugh being let go would be a big mistake, wouldn't it?
Oh, I just think it's a ridiculous concept, even for anybody to think. And anybody who is thinking that way really doesn't know the game of football, doesn't understand the tremendous not problems, but the demands that come out of a football team, especially the quality of Michigan and who they have to play. I mean, look what happened this past week. Indiana is upsetting, high-rated teams. The Big Ten and the quality of the play in the Big Ten probably supersedes every other conference in the United States. And I'll tell you what, it tells us that the future is that every team that we play, unfortunately, and I don't know why we're not playing Minnesota this year with the the brown jug competition, and so that they fell off our. Michigan is very fortunate that Minnesota is not on the schedule this year, because they're a quality football team. And every week you go out there and you see who the Big Ten teams are defeating, makes you realize that this is a quality conference.
Right.
And every week, don't take it for granted.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I agree with you. I mean, Indiana beating Nebraska, to me, when you talk about humble pie, Nebraska, who would have thought that many years ago when they were playing in the Big 8, Big 12, whatever you want to call it, as they got bigger, when Nebraska had his steady diet of Oklahoma and Texas until they came in, and then all of a sudden a couple quality opponents. But now you come into the Big Ten, and then teams like Wisconsin annihilate you, on a continuous basis, and Michigan had their number, and the beat goes on. And I agree with you. I think that Nebraska has definitely gotten humbled in the league. I know that we talk about the fact that you were hoping that Saturday's effort can be duplicated, and I know you referenced the second half. Well, you're talking about 6 quality quarters, including the one with Notre Dame. So I hope and pray for Michigan fans that that's hopefully the turning around of their season, considering they got off to a tough start.
Well, I agree with that 100%, Scott. And I'll tell you what, don't sell the Michigan team short. Don't sell Jim Harbaugh short. The game of college football has become an equalizing factor across the board. And I remember when I played, and granted that was a long time ago. Don't get me wrong, but it was the Big 2 and the Little 8 was what the Big 10 was, and we didn't even think about. We started planning for Ohio State after the second or third game of the season, and because we knew that there was nobody who could be on the field with us at the same time. Those days are gone. Every week, look at the quality of the opponent that Michigan has to face, and give our players kudos, for the way that they have to prepare and the quality of the opponent. I mean, Lord have mercy. It's a whole different ballgame now, and that's a great tribute to the quality of the play in the Big Ten, and believe me, the rest of the country is quickly starting to realize it.
Well, I know it's not quantity, but it's quality on this particular segment. So while we have like 5 to 6 minutes or so, I know you got to be twice as gratified that Notre Dame didn't recruit you very hard, that you were always a Notre Dame fan. Your brother went there, and you had to hitchhike to the game and back to Grand Rapids. So I know the one thing I liked, and then you can reiterate on this, that God intervened, and it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to you, wasn't it?
I can't. You said it exactly the way that we discussed it, and believe me, I was a little Gomer kid growing up, and my older brother went to Notre Dame as a student. I was an athlete. Well, I used to hitchhike down to the games, but the good Lord intervened and directed, and I was recruited to a lot of schools. Now, it's not like I'm saying that I didn't have choices,
right?
But there was only 2 or 3. That I would even consider, and I'm just really gratified, and I thank the Lord directed me to the University of Michigan, and the great teammates that I had, and the great, I wasn't recruited by Bo Schembechler, I was recruited by Bump Elliott.
Right.
Bo Schembechler intervened in my freshman year, and from that day on, I was a Schembechler, guy.
Yeah, I know you like to tell that story a lot, and I know you and I and Candy had an opportunity to talk about a lot of the old log cabin. Oh, that place is unbelievable. But hey, you know what? When you go out there and you play for the University of Michigan, the all-time Division I winningest program with a lot of national championships, albeit they haven't had a lot lately. But anytime you put the old big block M on there, everybody knows who that stands for. I don't care about the duplicated M's you got to have with all the different colleges. The block M is something that you really play for, and let alone 110, 112,000 people. What was it like for you when you went on that field? Over 100,000 on a continuous basis.
Let me historically let me take you back a little bit. When I was recruited and I came on to the University of Michigan, freshmen couldn't play. Okay, so I couldn't play as a freshman. So I was there with Jim Brandstetter and Reggie McKenzie and Fritz Seifert, I should say, and all these guys in our freshman class, Glenn Dowdy, Billy Taylor, Reggie McKenzie. God, we had a great class. And we came in and freshmen couldn't play then. So,
right.
Our job was to practice against the varsity every week and prepare them for the game that was coming this week. Anyway, and when we would go out of it, there were 75, there was 80,000 people. Maybe were attending the games at that time, because they were coming off a string of not great years.
Right.
Well, when my first 2 or 3 games at the University of Michigan were in front of maybe 75, 80,000. And then, of course, we started winning. And I'm not denigrating the great Michigan fans, but our stadium started filling up until finally, in that last game of the season of '69, as you recall, the greatest game in Michigan football history was the Ohio State game, number 1 team in the country, number 1 team for 26 straight games, and we had 103,588 or whatever the number was, which was the largest crowd ever to watch a game in Michigan football, and ever since then, it's been 105,000 plus, and I'm very proud of the fact, as much as anything that I did at Michigan, was I was part of the group that continued that unbelievable string of Michigan fan support of filling that stadium to 105, 110, 112,000, every week. Now, I look back on it and I see those days as what was the start of the great following that Michigan football had.
All right, we got another minute or two to go. So, any final thoughts about the Michigan Notre Dame game? I know you were there and you got back, but we have about a minute or 2 minutes to go, so that we can talk about obviously the one game that most people had written Michigan off, and only for the Wolverines to come up big when they needed to on the national stage.
Well, the only thing I can say, and I'll say it quickly, is that beating Notre Dame really means a lot, I think, to all of us who appreciate the tradition of Michigan football. And I think it was great for our Wolverines to defeat a high-ranked team, and it also gave them the confidence to be able to face what they have on the rest of the conference and the national scene schedule. So, I give Jim Harbaugh and I give all of our guys credit. They are ready to take on the rest of the season, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, me too. I hope you're right. I know they hadn't beaten a top 10 opponent in quite some time, but meanwhile, I'm glad we had a chance to catch up with you, at this right now. And you know what we did is summarized. We took 20 minutes and did it in a really good way in 10, because at least we know the one thing that we have are the core things that we always have in common anyways, right, Mike? So.
Absolutely. Look forward to the rest of the season, everybody. This is going to be one hell of a ride, and I can't wait to see what develops. And God bless the Big Ten, because it has become one hell of a conference, and winning in the Big Ten every week, really means something now.
Well, you know what we're going to do? We'll probably bring you back on before the Michigan State game. How's that sound? I bet you'll have a lot.